Hey, it's your friend Lindsay. Welcome to Small Business Growth Tools, where we grow our businesses and our faith. Stick around and I'll teach you how to take intentional action to grow your small business. Hey friends, welcome back to Small Business Growth Tools. Today's episode is going to be a little different. I'm not teaching sales, I'm not talking about marketing or relationship building, and I'm not interviewing a guest. I just want to have an honest conversation with you about something that God has been working on in my own heart over the past couple of months. And if you've ever felt like you're trying to keep up with everyone else's business, if you've ever questioned whether you're doing enough, or if you've found yourself exhausted trying to build your business the right way, in air quotes, then I hope this episode encourages you. Because I found myself becoming the very business owner that I've spent years encouraging you not to become. Back in March, I started promoting some workshops that I was doing in April and May. And after sprinting all the way through the end of May with promotions, workshops, challenges, and launching all of these things and getting them off the ground and out into the world, I found myself showing up on platforms that I really normally wouldn't have even been on. Why, you ask? Because somewhere along the way, I started believing that I needed to be everywhere to be visible. Now, the good news is that I have some really great business friends that help me keep my head on straight. And my friends Jan and Andy reminded me of something that I already knew, but apparently I needed to hear it again. That visibility without purpose does absolutely nothing. That sentence hit me hard because I know that visibility without purpose does absolutely nothing. And while I was trying to become more visible, I wasn't becoming more fulfilled. I was becoming more worn out and tired and weary and really burned out at the end of May. The pace that I was trying to keep wasn't sustainable, not even in the least. And if I had a team that worked with me on all of these projects that I'm doing and all the social media and the podcast and the YouTube and all the things, right? Then it would be something that I might be able to manage if that's the smartest thing for my business. But that's the part that's ironic, is that I've said on this podcast for years that you don't have to be everywhere. You only have to be where it's smart for your business. And yet there I was doing all the things. I was showing up in all the places and I was listening to all the experts. I was trying all the strategies, and somewhere in all of that, I had drifted. Now, I had not drifted away from God, but away from the vision that He gave me, how He called me to serve the people He's called me to serve, right? And what I wanted this season of business to look like alongside this season of motherhood was nowhere to be found. It was not in sight at all. When I left corporate America years ago, I made a promise to myself that I was not going to build a business that caused me to miss my kids growing up. And I wasn't going to trade flexibility for another version of hustle, right? Because been there, done that, didn't want to do that again, right? And somewhere over the past handful of months, I realized I was breaking that promise to myself. So I stopped. Well, maybe a better way to put that is I stepped back. June became a month of stepping back, taking inventory, and reflecting. I answered the emails that I needed to answer. I responded to the messages, right? I served the incredible women inside my networking and mastermind group. But other than that, I rested and I reflected. And if you're a regular listener of this podcast, you know that I don't miss a week. You probably noticed that there was only one episode that was published in June. And honestly, that was all that I had the capacity for. But instead of feeling guilty about it, I decided to pay attention to what God might be trying to show me. And over the past month, I've been asking a lot of questions. Questions like, what do I actually want this business to look like? Who am I truly called to serve? What transformation do I want people to experience after working with me? How do I want my family to experience me while I'm building this business? Because that's an important question for me. And it's probably an important question for you as well as you're building. And what's funny is that I help other business owners answer these questions all the time. But isn't that how it goes, right? We can usually see everyone else's blind spots way before we see our own. And one of the biggest reminders that I needed was this: your business, my business, doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Even if that other person you're looking at seems to be wildly successful or is deemed to be wildly successful, right? Even if everyone online is telling you to copy their strategy or everyone online does a certain thing, God didn't call me to build their business. He called me to build mine. Another great reminder also popped up that comparison really is the thief of joy. I found myself following several well known voices in the sales world, in the business building space. They're incredibly successful. I'm not taking anything away from them. Okay. But instead of inspiring me, I found myself, questioning everything I was doing. I started wondering if I was behind, wondering if I was doing enough, if I was building the right thing, if I was serving the right people. I even caught myself feeling a little bit like an imposter, right? Not because God was showing me that I was an imposter, but because comparison whispered that I was. So I unfollowed them. They literally did nothing wrong. They are clearly doing things right. But I realized I needed to protect the lens through which I'm building my own business. God has given me a unique perspective, a unique calling, a unique voice, and I don't want to spend my days or nights wondering whether I'm on the right track because I'm constantly measuring myself against someone else's journey, someone else's business, someone else's race that might be 10, 15, 20 years ahead of where I'm at in building this business. If I looked back at their business 10, 15, 20 years ago, it probably looks very similar to mine, right? So instead, I'm following people who bring me joy, people who inspire me, and people who make me laugh. And honestly, some of my favorite accounts right now are the visitors who came to America for the World Cup. Their excitement, their gratitude, and their joy have been a refreshing reminder that there's still so much good in this world. And I think we could all use a little bit more joy and a good reminder that there is still good in this world, right? So, what am I changing? What am I changing? Or what am I keeping the same for the rest of 2026? So, first, I'm going to continue building relationships in my local community, in Zoom rooms, inside my own networking and mastermind group, because relationships have been and always will be the foundation of how I build my business. Now, second, I'm going to continue posting on social media, but I'm no longer going to be chasing arbitrary posting schedules like 3 times a day or 10 times a day or posted this many times a week and at these times because someone on the internet told me that I should, right? I'll post when I have something worth sharing. I'll schedule promotional content so that I know my events and my offers are covered in that way. And then I'll have the freedom to create content without pressure. One of the greatest gifts that came from stepping back in all of this is that I feel like I'm finally leading my business again instead of my business leading me. So, number 3 or third, let's talk about email. And if you're on my email list, you'll still hear from me. Do not worry. You'll receive the automation if you enter through my quiz or through one of my offers or we work together. You will enter through an automation that's connected to whatever brought you into my world. And maybe that's my online community on Facebook, right? But if you're here local to the Houston area, you'll get invitations to local events. If I have something I genuinely believe that will help you, you'll hear from me. If God puts something on my heart to share via email, you'll hear from me. But I'm not going to send emails just because someone else's marketing strategy says that I should. Now, some of you may be gasping right now because All of the people out there tell us that we have to be on social media so many times a day or a week, and we have to send so many emails a day or in a week, right? And I know that there's data that supports frequent posting and frequent emailing. I understand that. But here's what I've learned: it's not profitable if it steals my peace. It's not profitable if it distracts me from obedience to what God has called me to do. And honestly, I'd rather have you see my name in your inbox and think, oh, good, Lindsay has something worth saying, than wondering why I'm emailing you again, or seeing my name pop up in your inbox and you not even opening it because it's another one of those junk emails, right? In fact, I would love your thoughts on this. Seriously, I want you to send me an email. And I know that sounds a little bit contrary to what we're talking about here, but I would love to hear whether you'd rather hear from me less often with something meaningful for you, or more often just so I stay top of mind. I would genuinely love to know your opinion on that. Okay, so please do send me an email, hello@lindsayfletcher.co. Okay, fourth, I'm absolutely going to continue my Facebook Lives inside my Facebook community. I love that group. I love the conversations. I love cheering on the women inside that crew. That community is actually going through a rebrand here shortly, and I'm really excited to share about that. So if you're not in that group, shameless plug, I'll link it in the show notes for you to join that women's faith and business group. I would love for you to be in there. I will be going live in there once school starts again at the end of the summer, and I will be in there regularly going live, starting conversations and sharing more about what I'm doing. I'll be doing trainings in there, just things for you to think about as you build and lead your business. But that's where I love and enjoy spending my time when it comes to content creation. So I will definitely be doing that. So last but not least is this podcast. Don't worry, it's not going anywhere, but things are going to be shifting and changing just a little bit. Just like I said with email and social media, I don't want to create content just for the sake of creating content. I want to have something meaningful for you. I want to deliver so much value while you're spending your time with me here on this podcast. So here's what's going to happen for the rest of the summer. We're going to do something fun. If you grew up in the 90s like I did, you remember the reruns on TV, right? That's what we're doing. Over the summer, I'll be replaying some of the most downloaded episodes from this past year. These are episodes that resonated most with my listeners, with you. They're ones that you've shared, ones you've downloaded, the ones that continue helping people grow. I'll still record fresh intros and announcements, so you'll definitely want to keep listening over the summer. Episodes will release every other week throughout the summer, and then in September, we'll be back with brand new episodes just for you. As I wrap up this episode, I want to leave you with one final thought. The internet will always ask you for more content, more visibility, more emails, more videos, more platforms, okay? But I don't believe that God has called us to do more just for the sake of doing more. I believe He's called us to be faithful to the people He's entrusted to us, faithful to our families, faithful to our calling, faithful to the season that we are in. And faithful looks different in different seasons. So friend, if you're feeling tired, if you've been questioning everything, if you've been wondering whether you're doing enough, take this as your sign or your permission to pause, to pray, to think about the vision that God gave you, and to remember that your business does not have to look like anyone else's. It just has to be faithful to what God has called you to build. Thank you so much for letting me share my heart today. As always, I'm cheering for you, I'm praying for you and your business, and I will talk to you next time.